So we're coming to you live from the Crown Plaza Hotel, and the reason we're here, while the 2012 annual post-budget panel is being brought to you by the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce. Senator the Honourable Larry Hawaii is the feature speaker this morning. A number of presentations, implications for productive labour force, moving the economy into positive growth. The government is projecting 1.2% for this period. Is it even possible? Also, there's a question and answer session and tax incentives for stimulating new investments. Construction was one of the major points it received a lot of attention in yesterday's budget. Some will say that it's really, while it is a sector that requires a lot of attention, it can stimulate employment, stimulate growth and economic activity. It's a short-term measure, and that it's also an antiquated measure looking at things, an antiquated approach to looking at things, and a more innovative, creative approach should be taken to transform other sectors in the economy. The continual dependence on construction.
Well, you're right. It is a short-term measure, but it is a measure that has generally worked in immediate stimulation of the economy. We do have full employment, basically, as we said, 4.9 is unemployment. But a lot of that employment is within the CPEP and URP. So if we could get persons out of those programs where that is government subsidized and government financed, and get them into the construction sector instead, that would certainly take the burden off of the government. We believe the construction sector also has a lot of ripple-down effect, multiply effect throughout the economy, and that always helps. And so I think the incentives are good, and the incentives are to push developers to get into the construction industry. This time the incentives are not for owners, but for developers of land and building houses and that's good. I would say our concern about that is to ensure we don't overheat the economy at one point in time. And using words like maybe a construction boom, I don't think those might have been the best words that we should have used at this point in time, because boom always sends different kind of messages across to the mass. Right. Masses. So really and truly, we have to ensure, if we're going to be doing all the infrastructure as was mentioned, question whether all can be achieved in any event, but if we're going to be doing that and also pushing the residential and the commercial, because not only residential is also commercial development, that we may end up with an overheating of the economy, and therefore our one warning would be, let's phase it in and not try to do everything at one time.
CPEP, you are Minister on one time.
Well, I want to re-emphasize that construction is one of the best vehicles to stimulate the economy, and it need not be short-term in any event, because if you give developers the kind of incentives that we are giving them, both in terms of land and home development and so on, then it need to be short-term. But in terms of stimulating the economy, it's one of the best vehicles for doing so. And you asked about CPEP and URP. I want to say again, I mean, for me, this is tremendous. Here you now call on the private sector to play a role with government, right? To take CPEP and URP from the kind of stigma it has, or they both have in any case, and to have them work with the private sector and to be more productive. And for me, that is revolutionary.
How do you measure productivity, Minister Warner? How do you ensure that the allegations of corruption do not continue in programs such as CPEP and URP, that they actually are transformed into productive elements of our economy, to land and agriculture, to a number of other programs?
I mean, it's true that, in fact, the actual minister who will answer that will be Minister of Housing. But to answer you generally, I would say that it is very easy to measure productivity in terms of the output that you get from the workers. And you look at the output, and if you see that they're producing, then you can measure it very easily. But I wouldn't want to go into that area, as I say again, it is out of my field, really. But I would just believe that having them work with the private sector would be a plus.
Now, quick in-house announcement. In-house announcement.
Yes, it definitely would. Right. And I think we get more productivity there.
Sure.
Yeah, and sorry, but I really want to say also, I think a very important initiative in what we presented was moving persons away from dependency under the CPEP and URP program to a level of independency where they can work with private sector, develop the skills and work with private sector, and not continue to have that burden on the government.
It's a win-win.
If you have any questions to send to our panel a little later this morning, you can do it at www.facebook.com/TTCIC. That is the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce. Also, you can send it via your BBM. The number is 218-767-F0. I'm sure those numbers will go up just in case you missed it. But my final question to you, Ms. Kumar, this morning, social programs, really and truly, the social contracts of Trinidad and Tobago, the social pact that we make with each and every citizen to ensure the standard of living and the quality of life continues to improve. Do you think that this budget truly was a people's budget?
Well, I would say that there are a lot of social programs in place already. And what was put into this budget is just additional to ensure that on the social programs, we can see productivity coming out of it at the end of the day. We would not like to see an overemphasis. We understand the need to certainly ensure that the less privileged are looked after. And I think, as was mentioned, we have quite a significant amount of people under the poverty level. So therefore, we continue to look after them, and there's a need to continue to look after them. But we have to ensure that we can move where we can generate income in private sector that will allow us to look after the less privileged.
Minister Warner, you're the final word this morning.
If ever a budget has taken people from the cradle to the grave and look after them, this budget does that. And I want to particularly commend the Minister of Finance, Mr. Hawaii, and in fact I go further to commend the Prime Minister for having had the vision to appoint him.
In 6 months' time, do you think that you can come back to the population of Trinidad and Tobago, that is, any member of your cabinet, and account exactly what has been achieved from this budget?
Absolutely. I am absolutely sure of that. And I would say even less than 6 months. You have cause to worry here. This is a government that delivers.
Yes. The Minister of Finance has said that to us. He's made that promise that he is going to do post-budget accountability. He's going to come speak to people, speak to our members, and let us know what he has achieved and where he is along the way.
This government delivers, man. Delivers.
The final word from the Minister of National Security, also the CEO of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce. Don't forget, today, the Chamber is hosting its post-budget panel. Feature Speaker, Minister Larry Hawaii. We now take a very short break. When we come back, we'll continue our discussions on the budget. Stay with us.